Hey, it's Dirk from D&P Home Inspection. Welcome to our number one podcast. Now, each podcast is going to run about 10 minutes long, and hopefully I give you some good insight and a couple of cool stories that have happened over the years. Now, the first thing I'd like to say is that not every home inspector is the same, and some of these practices that I do are not what other home inspectors do. We are professional, and if they are doing their job right, they'll find a lot of the same stuff that I've found over the years. Anyways, whenever I'm starting a home inspection, I actually start the home inspection process about a block, maybe even a mile away from the house. This tells me what kind of landscape there is. It tells me which direction the trees are leaning. It tells me where the water would be coming from, and it also tells me like what type of neighborhood it is. If I see a lot of new roofs and stuff and the house that I'm going to doesn't have a new roof, maybe there was some hail damage and things like that. So these are the kind of things that I really want to check out. And we also want to check the trees and how much they're leaning, or if they're standing straight up, or even how big they are, because that can tell you how old the neighborhood is just by how big the trees are. So that's kind of cool little things that I've picked up over the years. Anyways, whenever I'm doing a home inspection, like I said, it's about a mile from the house. Once I get to the house, I always bring an extra pair of shoes. I actually go up to the door, make sure that nobody's there, and if they are there, I introduce myself, tell them I'm happy that they got me as a home inspector, and hopefully I can make their time very valuable, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the best job I possibly can. I even leave a flyer on the counter and say, hey, look, this is just for you to check, because we're going to check the GFCIs, we're going to move the thermostat, things like that, and sometimes we open and shut doors and gates and things like that in the house, and sometimes we don't put it back exactly the way they had it. So we always just want to make sure that people know that that's what we're doing. So I have a little list of things that we touch. When I'm going through the house, we always want to kind of make a run through. I kind of check out underneath the sinks and things like that. And then I turn on all the bath fans just so that I can see when I go up on the roof where the bath fans are exhausting, or if they are exhausting in the attic or not. If I do notice that they are out the soffit or something like that, I just put a little note there saying that they shouldn't be outside the soffit. They should really actually be outside the wall, or outside the roof. That way moisture intrusion isn't going to happen inside the attic, cause staining, cause some issues. Anyways, I'm getting off track here. Whenever I'm doing a home inspection, the thing is, like, I want to check all the doors too. These doors are really a good indication of how the foundation is of the house. When you're opening and shut those doors, they should be nice and plumb. There shouldn't be gaps up in the top or the bottom. And if they're sticking and stuff, it tells me that they've had the doors open too long and they don't shut them very often. A lot of people leave their rooms doors open, and that actually puts a little bit of stress on those hinges, which can cause some problems. You can readjust the hinges, just FYI. And I could probably teach you all about that if you ever want to know, because there's a lot of things that I know that a lot of other people don't. And YouTube's kind of one of those best kept secrets. So a lot of the stuff that you can find is actually right on YouTube. And that is a good trade secret. Sorry, I guess it's not a secret anymore now that I said it on the podcast. Anyways, what we're really going to do is we're going to look at all those door jambs. We're going to check, make sure everything's plumbed up. And it's just a quick walkthrough when I'm doing it. Later in depth, I'll actually be checking for moisture intrusion and things like that. And when I'm doing my moisture calculations, I also run a thermal camera as well. Every home inspection gets us, at least the full home inspections I do, gets that included in their price. And that's why D&P is so expensive, is because we actually do extra things like that to make sure that you're getting the home inspection that you actually paid for and deserve. Like, I was doing a modular home one time, and there was some moisture issues behind the shower, and I knew there was something not quite right there. And when you walked in the house, you could smell like this musty smell, and believe it or not, your senses are really a good indication of what's going on in that house. So you really want to use your senses to check out things that are going on in the house, especially if you smell a musty smell. That means that there is something going on that isn't quite right. It could be mold, it could be a dirty pair of underwear that's been left behind. I don't know. It could be a dead rat up in the attic, which I've seen that too. I've also seen raccoons and things like that as well. Anyways, getting off track again. Checking out the shower. I always run my moisture meter around the shower and then around the toilet and all the exterior walls. I have found so many times where there's been moisture intrusion and nobody would have ever saw it, but then all of a sudden I'm running my meter and boom, there it is. Let's check it, let's probe it, make sure it is. The shower was actually leaking on the other side of the wall, and there was so much water stains there. I don't understand why people didn't fix it. So I took my probe and I actually pushed it right through the 2x4, telling me that that wall is completely rotted out. Then I followed it all along the wall to the exterior wall. So the exterior wall was actually getting flooded out too. So it must have been coming up underneath the crawl or underneath the sheathing of the floor and actually spreading up the wall. And a lot of times those walls will wick moisture up. So you're not just getting rock within the first 3 inches. It actually can go all the way up into the wall because it wicks. You got to remember that when you're looking at 2x4s and stuff, they are a plant base. And if you've ever known a plant, it actually has characteristics to help it actually wick things up. So like if you took celery or something and put in some water and you put some food dye in there, eventually you'll see that food dye go up the celery. And that's kind of how wood is too. It has a plant base, so it wicks everything up, and it wants to get moisture. Moisture likes wood. And so anyways, it was wicking up, and unfortunately when the customer asked how much would it cost, I told them, to be honestly truthful, I really don't know. It would be up, my first guess would be around $10,000 just to fix that, and that is just a rough estimate. So whenever you're doing your home inspection, you got to know the components. You got to realize why things are the way they are, and if you do see something weird, I'm going to let you know. That's just kind of how I do my home inspections. Anyways, I hope this podcast actually is enlightening. I hope you learn a little bit. And I'm going to keep going through these podcasts and teaching you a little bit more about your home. And as today we're knowing a home is part 1, and we'll keep going with this. Remember, we are dependable and we are professional. This is DMP Home Inspections signing off.